Morning, peeps. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, let's do this. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget as well to like and share the vids. We're closing in on 30,000 subs. It'd be nice to get 30,000 subs sooner rather than later. So please, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so. I'm not quite sure what time this is going to go out. I'm filming this at just gone 11 in the morning. The reason I say that is because there is going to be no Sunday session live today. Obviously, we normally do Sunday sessions live every Sunday around 7 o'clock. We're not doing it today, but the reason we're not doing it is because we have our first guest coming today at 4 o'clock. So yeah, it starts, people. We've got our first guest coming. I'm excited by it. So that's the reason we're not doing a Sunday session live. We are going to go back to him from next week, but this week we're going to try something different and see how it looks. And I really want your feedback on it as well. The video will go up on Monday. It's going to be podcast as well, so we're going to be in all the podcast platforms, but let me know what you think about it once it does go up. All right, let's see what there is to talk about from the world of boxing today. You know what I did say? Let's just go straight with the big news. Eddie Hearn, and look, this has been rumored anyway this day, but Eddie Hearn has pretty much said that AJ versus Usyk is likely to fall in April, which is 3.5 months away, which seems really, really close for me. I think it's probably going to be May, but April, and he said it's likely to go back to the Tottenham Stadium, which is fantastic as a visual spectacle. It looks amazing. Like, inside is ridiculous. But for fans commuting, it's awful. It's awful. There were so many fans after the AJ Usyk fight stranded. Couldn't get to any train station. All train stations were shut. So I don't know, man. I don't think a lot of people will be happy that it's at the Tottenham Stadium. People would prefer it to be at Wembley. I do think that it could do the numbers for Wembley. I think AJ Usyk will get around 80,000, so it comfortably could do that. But I'm guessing that maybe Matchroom has some sort of deal in place with Tottenham to use their stadium. Again, magnificent stadium, but not great for fans. Let's talk about the fight happening in April, if it were to happen in April. That's a very short time. It is, right? I mean, if the fight's happening in, 3.5 months, or let's just say 4 months, 4 months. I mean, I'm sure AJ would want a 8 to 10 week camp, maybe a bit longer. So AJ will have to go into camp in under a month's time. And we're led to believe there is no new trainer yet. I mean, there are rumors about him going with Ronnie Shields. I think that seems to be the front runner, or Robert Garcia, but no new trainer has been announced yet. I'm sure behind the scenes it's done, but we don't know about it. I mean, it's all happening very, very quick, isn't it? I mean, you're going to get in with a new trainer, and then you're going to go and try and have the toughest fight of your life. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right. Look, maybe it's not necessarily a boxing thing that AJ needs to improve. Maybe it's a mental thing, and that can be improved in a short space of time, you would hope. But it does seem very, very quick to go in there against someone as good as Usyk when you don't have a new trainer. If it was Rob McCracken, then fine, go in with Rob McCracken. And, potentially AJ could get the job done. With a new trainer, that quick, I'm not sure. You would have liked, look, AJ had the first fight with Usyk in September. And now there were talks immediately after that fight about AJ and Rob McCracken sort of parting ways. You would have liked AJ to have done that immediately. Like the first week, done. So we're moving into October. You've got a new trainer, and then it's October, November, December, January, February, March, April. You've got 7 months with the new trainer. Again, it's not long enough as far as I'm concerned. I think you need about 4 or 5 fight camps to get in sync with a trainer. But if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. So 7 months would have been good. 3.5, 4 months with a new trainer, it's a tight turnaround. Look, I'm excited for it. It does mean we've got a huge fight. It's going to happen. I mean, there were talks a couple of months ago about step aside and all that nonsense. It's exciting for the fight fans that we are going to get a massive, massive fight. I do think we're going to get. I do think we're going to get Tyson Fury, Dillian White. I think it's going to happen. I think the fact that there are going to purse bids, it will happen. So what I'm trying to say is that we're going to get minimum two massive heavyweight fights, maybe over here as well, potentially. I'm not quite sure whether Fury White fight will land. I mean, Frank Warren has spoken about the fight in Cardiff. Is it the Principality Stadium, which holds a lot? I mean, can Fury White do that? I think so. But I'm very, very excited to see who AJ chooses as the new trainer and how this fight plays out. Very excited. There's been a lot of talk about him needing a Kronk style, right, a more aggressive way of fighting. I don't know, man. I don't know what AJ is going to do and implement in order to beat Usyk. I do feel like I want to see him a bit more heavier. I almost feel like that AJ that's a bit bigger is a bit more built for destruction. I know that sounds very basic, right? But that's the way I look at it sometimes when he's a bit heavier. I don't want him to be like he was against Carlos Takam, 18 stone 4, but maybe around 17.7, 17.8. I guess the only thing with that is, does AJ trust his gas tank to go the distance if he's that heavy? Not sure. But look, it's going to be intriguing. Potentially, it's going to be the biggest fight of 2022. In fact, I think the biggest fight of 2022 could be the trilogy fight between him and Usyk. Like a lot of people are saying, it'll be AJ Fury. I feel like him and Usyk are going to do it one more time. I think there could be 3, especially if the second fight is competitive, like very competitive, and AJ maybe just nicks it. I think they'll do it again. I think there'll be an appetite for it again as well. But I guess there'll be a bigger appetite for AJ Fury. So look, that's what we're hearing, April. Again, strange. You're hearing about a fight and we don't have a new trainer. I find it very, very strange. I feel like we're doing things the wrong way around. But again, we're the last to know about these things. AJ could have a trainer already. He really could. There were a few trainers. He's in Dubai at the moment. And I know for a fact there were a few trainers out there, like flown out to have conversations with him, maybe hit pads, maybe just, sort of bring their ideas to the table. We can do this, we can do that. Again, for me, it's a bloody quick turnaround. But good luck to Anthony Joshua, because I'm an AJ fan. I want him to win. All right, what else have we got here? Derek Chisora would embrace the opportunity to fight Deontay Wilder. Look, Chisora's a fighting man. Chisora would fight anyone. I think we all know that now. Like, there's no one Chisora wouldn't fight. This isn't a Chisora thing. This is the people around Chisora. So this is 258 management. Obviously, he's signed to them now. This is Dave Caldwell. This is, if it is going to be an Eddie Hearn fight, this is Eddie Hearn reining this talk in. I think Eddie Hearn's the one that kind of started it, but you got to rein it in, because Chisora versus Wilder just ain't that. Again, I said immediately after the fight, I think, that I would like to see Chisora versus Areola. I mean, look how far I've dropped. I said Chisora Areola just because I want to see Chisora. Even Andy Lee. So I did that show straight after the fight. It was me, Tony Bellew, and Andy Lee. And Andy Lee was chucking a couple of names out there as well. And Andy Lee was like, put him in there with fights that he can win, like competitive-ish fights, but fights that he can win. Like Chisora's fighting guy is like Wilder. I mean, come on. So I say an Areola, bash him up, and then you maybe take if he beats an Areola, then maybe someone like a Charles Martin. Those type of fights, certainly not a Deontay Wilder. Certainly not. And Chisora is obviously coming up to his 40s now, I think. He must be about 37, 38. There's not long left anyway. So I think fun fights, competitive fights, but fun fights. But anyone in that top 10 to 15 bracket, not for me. I don't think so. Anthony Yarde's trainer, Tunde Ajayi, says, we are next for Joe Smith. Obviously, Joe Smith was supposed to fight Callum Johnson. He's not. Obviously, Callum Johnson unfortunately tested positive for COVID. That was a voluntary. So Callum Johnson, I don't expect to get the opportunity again anytime soon. Disappointing for Callum Johnson. That might be his last opportunity at a world title as well, by the way. Now, Anthony Yarde, I think, is ranked sort of very high in that governing body. So Anthony Yarde could be next after Joe Smith comes through his fight. I like it. I like the fight for Anthony Yarde. I think of all the champions, although Joe Smith can crack and we all know he can hit, that's a close fight, Yarde versus Joe Smith. I think immediately some people will say Joe Smith is favourite. Yeah, he's favourite, but Anthony Yarde's got a very, very good opportunity, very good opportunity to beat him. I like the fight, and I like that Tunde wants to fight as well. Look, I picked my fight of the year being Anthony Yarde versus Boazzi, so I'd prefer to see that, but realistically, that ain't going to happen. Whereas Anthony Yarde, obviously, will be in a mandatory position for Joe Smith's belt. So I like the fight. Joe Smith, on the other hand, obviously wants Beterbiev. He wants a rematch with Bivol. Canelo's up in 170. Canelo potentially, could go back down to 175. I say back down because he's going to go cruiserweight. Could go back down to 175. So I don't know if Joe Smith would want the fight, but I think it's a good fight for Anthony Yarde. I really do. You know what we haven't spoken about? Let me see if I can quickly bring it up. Matchroom and DAZN released their calendar, didn't they, of fights for the next, I think it was a couple of months, starting in February. I knew the fight dates, and obviously, look, because I'm with DAZN, you kind of get sort of whispers to the fights that are going to be made. But some of them I didn't know. All right, so this is what we've got coming up in 2022. What are your thoughts to this? So the first one is Jesse Vargas versus Liam Smith. That's February 5th. You got February 12th over here. Jacobs versus Ryder here. That's going to be at Alexander Palace, which I don't mind, by the way. Alexander Palace is a decent boxing venue. Haringey Cup, I think, happens there. A lot of fights. In the 90s, you always used to hear about fights happen in Alexander Palace. It was Alexander Palace and Wembley Arena. Those were the two big, like, if you got a big show, it was those two. It wasn't O2 Arena in the 90s. Munguia versus Ballard. Okoli versus Cieslak. I think it's Cieslak, that's how you pronounce his name. Obviously, Okoli was talking about fighting at heavyweight, so obviously not. He's going to fight stay at cruiser for this one. March 5th, probably the biggest fight on here. Yeah, for me, it's definitely the biggest fight. Estrada versus Chocolatito, the third fight. I thought Chocolatito was unlucky not to win the second fight, by the way. March 12th, probably the biggest fight in the UK, I think, for DAZN in this period. Or some might argue with the last one. We'll read that out in a minute. But Wood versus Conlon, big fight in Nottingham as well. Nottingham Arena, world title fight, big one. Ortiz Jr. versus Mickinson. Good opportunity for Michael Mickinson to show what he's got. And then March 26th, day after my birthday, we got Martinez versus Warrington at 2. This one's got an interesting reaction. A lot of people are like, oh, Warrington is ducking Lara. And I'm like, so? Like, so let me understand the thought process here. You've got a chance of fighting Martinez for a world title, or going against someone that stopped you and was a dangerous fight the second time. I'm sorry, no. This isn't macho bullshit. Go and fight for the world title, get that money, and I dare say it's an easy fight. I say it now, who knows what could happen, but if you can swerve Lara, I said it in the aftermath, if you can swerve that guy, swerve him. He is a nightmare for Josh Warrington. He's a nightmare. And although Josh Warrington would probably be like, no, I want it. Hopefully, his team around him are like, chill out. Take Martinez, have that fight, get that belt back, and then we'll see. Because, no. You don't want to fight Lara. Trust me. Guys, I was there ringside for the second fight, and punches, they were missing each other's head by about that much. Can you see it? And I only felt that fight was going to go one way. Honestly, I felt, and I wasn't the only one. I was ringside with Chris Lloyd, Darren Barker, Tony Bellew. I'm name dropping here. And all of them were like, oh, God. All of them. So, yeah, you move on. I think it's decent. I think it's good. I like Vargas versus Smith. 154-pound division's a good one. Smith coming off that good win against Fowler. We'll see what he's got left. Estrada versus Chocolatito, as I said, I think it's the biggest fight here. Wood versus Conlon's a massive fight. Really is. Conlon, I'm still not... Look, there was a time when people were talking about Conlon versus Shakur Stevenson. That was like, we got to see... Look, Shakur's like that. Shakur is now, in some people's eyes, someone that's going to dominate not just 130, 135, 140. People are talking about him as 147 fight. Conlon's kind of just stayed there where you're not quite sure. Wood's obviously coming off that career best win against Jukan. A good win as well. I like the fight. I would favour Wood as well in this fight. Jacobs versus Ryder's an interesting one. Danny Jacobs hasn't fought since that boring fight against Rosado. I'm not quite sure what's left of Danny Jacobs. How old is Danny? I'm thinking he's around 38. Could be wrong here. Could be wrong. Maybe might be a bit younger. 34. Okay, I was very wrong. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. 34 is not. It's not that old, is it? It's not super old nowadays. He had that good run, Danny Jacobs, sort of between 2017 and 2019. So 2 years where he was in big fights. Obviously, Golovkin in that fight, Derevyanchenko, and Canelo. Of those, 1-1, that is Derevyanchenko by split decision, lost to Golovkin, but caused Golovkin some problems in that fight. I wonder how much of that guy's left. If any of that guy, like if 70% of that guy's left, then John Ryder's going to have a tough fight, a really tough fight. But it's an interesting matchup because you'd almost say, with all due respect to John Ryder, who himself is 33, it's almost like two veterans. It's almost, not loser leaves town, but it's going to be a long way back for the loser. I think it will be. They still get fights, but I think the winner's thinking, okay, and then I go. Yeah, interesting matchup, that one. I'm not quite sure how that one's going to go. You favour Danny Jacobs just because he is the proven world level operator, but not sure, man. Not sure. It's a very, very interesting matchup. There was a lot of talk as well about Danny Jacobs going to 175 pounds, so not quite sure what's going on here. What's this one? Edgar Berlanga, Steve Rolls, set for March 19th at Madison Square Garden's Hulu Theatre. Yeah, I think they've dialed back on Berlanga a little bit after his last performance. Didn't look great. Remember, got put down. Remember that fight? Didn't look great in that fight at all. They've cited injuries in the lead up to it, okay? So maybe Steve Rolls is a smart choice, but I think their plan of 2022 for Berlanga was a lot bigger than this. Look, still very highly touted prospect, but I think they've dialed down on it a little bit. Clarissa Shields saying that she's the one chasing the Savannah Marshall fight. I think Savannah Marshall's chasing it as well, if I'm honest with you. I think both of them are chasing that fight. I think it's Sky that have almost stalled on it a little bit. Again, remember, these guys, I don't know if you guys remember this, but they were supposed to be on the same card in December. Savannah Marshall, I think, got injured. And then Clarissa Shields was supposed to fight on the undercard of Liam Williams Eubank. That fight got pulled. So they were supposed to fight in December on the same card. They would have obviously gone nose to nose. They'd have brought them both in the ring. And then I think they were supposed to have their own pay-per-view show, potentially, in April. So we are kind of delaying that now. So you think they're probably not going to get it on now until the summer, because Savannah Marshall's got to have her fight as well, do you know? A bit here about Usyk Joshua to land in April. Eddie Hearn says, we spoke about that already. In the UK as well, there was some talk about it going to Saudi Arabia, no, the UK. What's this? Malik Scott on Deontay Wilder. There's a lot of talk. This is sort of gathering a lot of momentum now. I say momentum, that's probably the wrong word, but people are now really starting to think that Deontay Wilder won't fight again. This is what Wilder, okay, he done one of those cold as balls things with Kevin Hart. Have you seen those where he sits in a tub of ice and they have a conversation? It works for some reason. It's weird concept, but it works. He says, it's mixed feelings because ultimately I've accomplished all my goals in this sport. I told my daughter when she was 1 that I'd be a champion and I'd be able to support her beyond belief. I've done that. There's a lot of things that I've accomplished that I feel I have to prove to anyone because I've already proven them. Should I push forward? ? Should I give it a go one more time, or should I just retire and focus on the other things that I already have, other things that I want to get into? I think he wants to get into acting. I think he's done some of that already. That sounds like a fighter that's already got one foot out the door. And yeah, obviously, look, we kind of talk about this all the time, how dangerous it is as a fighter to have one foot out the door. And he sounds like he's got that. I like it. Like get in, get rich, get out. You know the term. There's a lot of money on the table that he'll be leaving. A lot of money. But he leaves with a lot of money and his faculties in place. That's an interesting decision, because a lot of people were talking about him versus Andy Ruiz. That's a huge fight in America. Huge fight. Him versus AJ is still, like, if Deontay Wilder can have a fight and look good, like against someone of note in the top 10, top 15, and AJ were to beat Usyk, and they can't make the Fury fight. AJ versus Wilder, wherever in the world, is huge. It is huge. So there's a lot of money left on the table, but again, maybe, I don't know. Those fights against Fury would have taken a lot out of you, like mentally and physically. That takes a lot out of you, a lot. So maybe he's making the right decision. I don't know, man. I would like for him to do that, retire, that is, but I don't know. There's still some fights that I wouldn't mind seeing him in. Some big fights, like even these are fights that won't happen. But Joe Joyce, I'd love to see the Joe Joyce fight, but just because Joe Joyce almost has come across like a man that can't be dented. Like, you can't stop him. He's a fucking machine, the juggernaut. Could he take Wilder's right hand? I want to know. I want to know if Joe Joyce can take that right hand. So there's so many fun fights left on the table. Again, fights that make him a lot of money. Every fight now, he's in a position now where he's a pay-per-view guy. Every fight now, it's a minimum of 5 million for Deontay Wilder, minimum. Obviously, it'll be a lot more than that. So there's a lot of money left on the table for Deontay Wilder. But again, if you're talking like that, then I guess you're close to making that decision already. All right, guys, I think that is it. That is it. Yeah, all right, have a good day. And again, the video will be up tomorrow of me and my guest. Peace.